Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Yuno Learning. So, in today's session, we are going to deconstruct another IELTS writing task too. We're going to look at the factors the examiner are looking for. A lot of the time, students are like, we did not score what we desired in our IELTS exam because what happened exactly? They had good English, but they missed out on some assessment criteria that the examiner are looking for. So, we'll go through them in detail and see what exactly do you need to do and what factors do you need to tick before you start your IELTS writing task too. So before I dive into the question itself that we're going to discuss today, let's have a look at the different types of essays in IELTS writing task, right? So before you attempt the question itself, you need to recognize what kind of question is it? Where, in which category does it fall? So starting from discussion essays. So as the name states, discussion is supposed to be a neutral discussion. So let's say you're given an argument that traditional schools are outdated and we need to start embracing, let's say, virtual mode of learning. Now, if I'm given a discussion essay, first I'll discuss both viewpoints. I'm going to talk about the traditional settings, their pros, and then I'm also going to talk about the virtual setting in a neutral manner. Then, if the examiner says, give me your opinion as well, then I'll write a third paragraph where I'll give my opinion, or based on your opinion, there will be an approach where you'll be presenting your opinion as well. The other kind is the opinion essays. As the name states itself, the kind of questions you get here: to what extent do you agree or disagree? Do you agree or disagree? Or maybe simply just give your opinion. Now, see, depending on the question type, all of these are opinion questions. Now, you can go ahead and choose a balanced opinion or an unbalanced opinion, and there would be different approach for both of them. But here, you're simply supposed to tell the examiner, what do you think in this matter, right? So, do you support traditional schools, or do you support virtual mode of learning, or do you think there are pros and cons of the both sides, but there's one thing that's better than the other? Then we have a problem solution essay. So, in this kind of essay, you might be presented with a question that says traditional schools are outdated, discuss their problems and what could be the new solution, the new age solution for them. So depending on upon the question, if they say problems, then you're supposed to present at least two problems. And then if they ask you for solutions, then you're supposed to give two solutions which are inherently synced. So you cannot present solutions that are not in sync with the problems that you've talked about. To see how with each category there are different nuances that you have to approach, even though the argument remains the same, we're still talking about the traditional schools and virtual mode, but just depending on the instruction that we are given, our entire approach to this question will change. That is why it is very, very important for you to acquaint yourself with these types of IELTS writing tasks too. Now let's see what do we have in store for today. So today we're going to discuss a question that was asked on 27th of February 2024. The question itself is, some people believe that childhood is the best stage of happiness, while others believe that a person can enjoy greater happiness in other stages of life. Discuss both views and give your opinion. So see, this is a culmination of a discussion, essay, and your opinion. So you're going to also discuss the ideas, both of the ideas, and then tell us what do you think on this particular matter. So see, the first thing that we have to do is understand the given statement. Now, what do I mean by understanding the given statement? Now, it's just not simply about just reading the statement and like getting into it. It's about clearing your nuances that what exactly is this statement asking me to do, right? So let's talk about keywords here. Childhood, best stage of happiness. Others believe there are other stages of happiness in life. So basically, the two stages that we're is like, we're going to compare childhood and other stages, which other stages could be your middle age life, your old age life, right? So those are the other stages, and this is the childhood. So what do you think? Which is the greatest source of happiness? Did you enjoy the most in your childhood, or do you think you're enjoying most, right? If you're a middle-aged person, you're enjoying in your 20s more, or do you think there will be greater happiness that you can expect to have in your 30s or 40s and so on? So depending on your opinion, we'll do that. But since this essay says discuss both views, first we're going to talk about why childhood is so important in happiness, and why we can also find happiness in other stages in a neutral discussion, right? This is not supposed to be a biased opinion. This is supposed to be a neutral discussion. This is how we understand the instruction. This particular instruction is asking us to do this. Then we'll go ahead and generate content. So if you think childhood is the best stage, why do you think it is the best stage? Maybe you can talk about the innocence that you have in childhood, right? Which generally goes away in later stages of life as you get acquainted with the realities of life. Or you can talk about how in other stages you're more experienced and you have, let's say, more money, more less time, but more money and resources to go ahead and make that desired life for yourself. So both of the sides, you at least have two points for each the side. And then depending upon how you're going to choose your opinion, you can go ahead and write this essay. So let's see how we're going to approach this. So first of all, let's see what is our opinion going to be. Right? This is important. So we can have two types of opinions. A balanced one and a one-sided opinion. So the name itself is pretty clear. When I say a balanced opinion, I say in 70 is to 30, right? 70 is to 30, that means that it is a balanced opinion. I'm recognizing the benefits of the both sides. I'm recognizing that both sides are valid, but I'm saying that one side is more true than the other, in my opinion, right? So let's say if I ask you to choose between, let's say, a red color and a green color, right? Now, if you have a one-sided opinion, you just simply go and say, I like the red color, so let's go for the red one. But if it is a balanced opinion, you say that red has this perks, green has these perks, but in the end, I need a conclusion. I need a concrete answer from you that what is your opinion. So you have to tell me that even though I like both of them, there are some things to like about both, I still choose red. So this is how balanced opinion is supposed to be. The essence of balanced opinion, remember, it is how it is supposed to be. You cannot go, oh, I like red also, I like green also. Like, yes, childhood is also fun and other stages of life are also fun. Give me a conclusion by the end of this discussion that what do you personally believe? It could be either way. It doesn't have to be fact or some greater majority viewpoint. It just can be your viewpoint that you have substantially developed and given reasons for. So let's see. Now, how is this going to impact us? Why is this important, right? Why our opinion matters? So if our opinion is one-sided, we'll have two body paragraphs. So starting from the introduction, you write body paragraph 1, which will be about childhood, that why is it the best stage of life? Body paragraph 2, other stages, why other stages can provide greater happiness. And then, depending upon on your opinion, let's say I say that childhood is the best stage. So I insert my opinion within this body paragraph. There will be no separate body paragraph for this one. All right. And then you conclude. Now, how does this differ in a balanced opinion? You write the introduction, you write body paragraph 1, again for childhood, neutral discussion, no opinion. Body paragraph 2, you talk about other stages. And body paragraph 3, now this is where you present your opinion since you are balancing both. But at the end, you're telling that, okay, in the end, I like this better. And then you will write conclusion. So this is how you're going to approach this essay. So take a minute, think about it. What is your approach going to be? And then think about how you're going to justify it. How are you going to develop the reasons? It's not just important for me to say, okay, I like childhood better. But what are the reasons of childhood? Focus on things like, for example, we talked about innocence that we encountered in our childhood. Then the time we have in our childhood, like we have infinite time in our childhood because we have no responsibilities to cater to, right? And we are still very, very sheltered from the realities of life, the grief in itself. So this is could be the things that you can talk about while you're talking about childhood. Then what I'm going to talk about in other stages. So as we talked about, number one, resources. You have much more resources like money. You have access to places. You have freedom, independence. That is something that's lacking in childhood. Then some other factors that you can think about, right? And these both are mutually exclusive. I am not making any contradictions here, right? There are no contradictions in my opinion. If I'm talking about innocence here, I'm not saying that innocence is also here. Then that doesn't make a valid point. So then you can think about these content. You can create content. So before you start writing the essay, you can write down these 2 to 3 words that you're going to discuss. Do not, let's say, if I'm talking about innocence, I'm not saying that innocence is also here. Then that doesn't make a valid point. So then you can think about these content. You can create content. So before you start writing the essay, you can write down these 2 to 3 words that you're going to discuss. Do not think of it as like you'll plan it on the go. Like you'll start writing and then think about it. You cannot do that. Think about your reasons beforehand and then go ahead and elaborate them in a perfect manner. Because if you go on changing your point after you've started writing, then it's going to create a lot of mess in your head and you might not be able to deliver as cohesive answer as the examiner is asking you to. So let's see what we have here. All right. So let's start with the introduction. What does an introduction require you to do? Number one, paraphrase. Number two, points, if you can discuss them briefly. Number three, thesis. Now, out of these two, thesis and paraphrase have to be there. Points is an optional thing which you might choose to write down or not, depending on. But thesis, what do we mean by paraphrase? That whatever the question is, you paraphrase it in your own words. That when I read the introduction, without even reading the question, I'm clear on what the essay is about. Thesis, you tell me what your opinion is. You follow the instruction and you give me a clear-cut answer. So if I'm asking you, give your opinion, you tell me your opinion in the introduction itself. I'm not going, the examiner does not want to wait till the conclusion to get your opinion. Give it very clearly from the get-go. So let's start. An interesting topic of debate is the stage of life in which one is most joyous and content. So see how we changed the entire structure of this sentence. We started with an interesting topic of debate. Which stage of life, instead of simply copy pasting that childhood is best but other believe, right? Is the most joyous. Instead of writing happiness, we chose to write joyous as an adjective and content. So that is again a way of happiness is joyous in content. One viewpoint is that one is happiest as a child, whereas others believe that one can be happy even as an adult. In my view, so this is where the thesis comes. This is your thesis statement. Very, very important. Happiness is a state of mind and is not dependent on one's age. So this is your opinion that you've clearly stated that I believe that happiness does not depend on childhood or other stages of life, right? It depends on exactly what your state of mind is. So how I'm going to elaborate this, we'll have an understanding beforehand. Number one. So let's talk about first, we have to discuss why childhood people believe childhood is better. So how we're going to do is we're going to introduce a topic statement. Then we're going to explain it. I cannot just say that this is why it happens. I have to explain it properly. Then I also have to give an example. Very important. This is how I develop my idea. This is how the examiner knows that I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just throwing around words, but I have thought about it and then put it into words and expressed it that why do I believe so. On the one hand, this is the linker that we have used here for coherence and cohesion. It is argued that as a child, one experiences unlimited joy as one is not burdened by the worries and cares of daily life. So, see, here we are talking about responsibilities, the burden of responsibilities. Children lead carefree lives without having to fend for themselves. I'm explaining why is this true? Because children don't have to fend for themselves. They don't have to earn because they have most of the times they have some guardians to take care of them, right? And they don't have responsibilities such as tending for a child, tending for your parents. Most of the times that is true for children. Example, for instance, another linker that we have used here, their parents take care of not only all their needs, but also their wants. So their wants and needs are fulfilled by their guardians, right? Hence, and this is a concluding statement within the paragraph, I'm trying to explain my point more here. They do not have to worry about fulfilling their basic needs of food, shelter, and clothing, which keeps them free of tension and they're able to appreciate the simple joys of life and lead happy lives. So, this is why I think that it is uh, believed that people feel their greatest joy in the childhood. Next, the other side, discussion essay. On the other hand, another linker, adulthood brings with its fair share of responsibilities. As a grown up, one needs to fend for oneself and one's dependents, which, along with the grind of daily life, creates innumerable stress situations, as a result of which one forgets to enjoy the small joys of life. To illustrate, it is rare to find adults who laugh uninhibitedly at the silly jokes as their minds are preoccupied with the myriad of professional and personal issues. So, this is my point that why I believe that it is not as possible for adults to enjoy happiness because of these things. And to illustrate, you see that adults who laugh very less because they're so much occupied in their daily life, crying, their personal issues and stuff. But in your view, this is the opinion paragraph. Happiness is a state of mind and is not dependent on one's age. If one chooses to live in the moment without getting bogged down by a rat race of life, one can be happy throughout one's life. So, see, in our opinion, is not, again, it's not basing on both the sides. Now, see, for a balanced opinion, you don't have to choose both the sides. Sometimes you might also believe that this is something that does not fall into the ambit of the debate itself. You do not believe that in this particular idea itself, that it's not just the childhood or the other stages of life. It's about where essentially you can go ahead and enjoy what life is offering you. So this could be also your opinion. Now we have already discussed balanced and unbalanced opinions and how we have taken one side over the other. But this is one opinion, whereas it is a balanced opinion, but it's also talking about the greater ambit of the debate. That I think it's not just one-sided debate, but it's more about the state of mind that you are living. Conclusion. To conclude, although there are two schools of thought regarding the happiest stage in an individual's life, I believe that it is our choices that keep us cheerful, irrespective of whether we are children or adults. So, this is how we are ending in our conclusion. But remember, when you're writing your conclusion, you can add no new ideas. You cannot talk about any idea that you have not talked about before, right? So, like if there's something that, let's say, you suddenly remember by the end of this debate and by end of writing this essay, you cannot go ahead and write it down because a conclusion is supposed to conclude the ideas that you've already talked about in your essay, and you cannot go ahead and write something new that is not talked about. Then that would be because that is not developed properly throughout your essay. There has to be a cohesive flow of ideas within your essay. So let's have a look at the entire essay and see what we have done here. So first we discussed that how people believe it's in happiness is in childhood. Then we talked about childhood. Then we talked about why in other stages people are not able to fulfill that joy. Then we substantiate this opinion that even though there are these barriers, I think it's not just the childhood itself. It's about how you choose to enjoy your life. What choices do you make? So in this case, we'll have a separate opinion because this is something that we are talking about apart from this debate, right? And then we'll have the conclusion here, and this is our introduction. Now, what are the key factors that you have to remember while writing an essay? Number one, task response. What do you mean by task response? Now, task response is basically how relevant your essay is to the question that was given to you. So, in every line, do we feel like we have talked about what the examiner was asking us? That we have talked about happiness and the stages of life. So we're supposed to relate these two, that how happiness is related to stages of life. And if you think it is not, then why? Have you explained that? This is where your task response come into play, right? Then we're going to talk about coherence and cohesion. Coherence and cohesion, how smoothly your ideas are flowing, that whatever you've talked about is coherent. This is why I said that there can be no new ideas in the conclusion, because that's where you're ending the essay and you cannot add something that you've not previously talked about. And even when we're, let's say, talking about these ideas here, when I say they are not burdened by worries and cares of daily life, I'm explaining it here how. So this is the sort of cohesion that the examiner is looking for. Now, how can you improve this cohesion? By adding linkers. On the one hand, in my view, hence, for instance, to illustrate, another way to say, for instance, on the other hand, when we are saying contrasting ideas, in my view, to conclude, and these are all the ways you can add cohesion to your essay. You can also use conjunctions like although, so make it more cohesive. Your ideas are flowing together. Next, we have lexical resource. What do you mean by lexical resource? Lexical resource is nothing but your vocabulary. So how have you paraphrased the words? So there's, you cannot repeat a single word multiple times throughout your essay. It becomes very monotonous, right? So there's no specific limit, but it is advised to not go beyond three. Like you can try not to repeat a word more than thrice, right? If you know a synonym for that perfectly fits into this particular ambit, then you can go ahead and use it. For example, joyous and content can be substituted for happiness here. Joyous means similar to what we mean by happiness. Then we can talk about burdened, right? Carefree lives fend for themselves. Fend means when you have to earn for yourself, right? Fend basically is to fetch something for yourself. What is fending here? Fending your basic needs like food, shelter, clothing. Then we are talking about just yes, um, dependence. Dependence means the people who are depending upon us, like our elders, or it could be your children, those people who rely upon us to get them what they need. Grind, basically the daily hustles or the daily struggles of your life. That is, you can use the word grind there. Innumerable, many, right? Then we have uninhibitedly. Now, what do we mean by uninhibitedly? So when I say inhibition, inhibition means something that is stopping you. A idea in your head that tells you that this is inappropriate, but uninhibitedly is like without any boundaries or without any inhibition in your mind, without any sort of any thought sabotaging that, right? So that is uninhibitedly. That's silly jokes. Preoccupied, when you're already thinking about so many things, that is preoccupied. Myriad, that means different variety, right? Various professional and personal issues. Happiness is a state of mind and does not depend bogged down. That means to get stumped down, like when you're like stuck somewhere, right? The rat race of life is like basically you following the pre-norms that have been set by other people. Then um, cheerful. See, so instead of saying happiness, happy again in the conclusion, we used the word cheerful. So joyous, cheerful. If you can think of any other synonym that you can spit in here, go ahead and comment below and see. Check out in the dictionary if it is exactly what you're aiming, because a lot of times when you write synonyms, it might not mean the similar thing. It might have a slight variation. So it is important for you to remember that you're using the correct word in the correct sense. Now, this was your lexical resource. Now, let's talk about the last idea, which is grammatical range and accuracy. Let's see. Grammatical range and accuracy. Now, when I say accuracy, that means your content has to be punctuated properly. You have to make correct. You have to use correct tenses, correct type of sentences. If you're making a compound sentence, you have to make sure that it's making sense and it is not left uninhibited. Now, when I say range, you have to use different types of sentences. You can add in passive statements. You can add in different types of conditional statements. That if, for example, what is a conditional statement? If one chooses, when I say if, that means it depends on the condition. If one chooses to live in the moment, then getting walked down the rat race of life, one can be happy throughout one's life. So this was a conditional statement. You see how you can add different kinds of sentences within your particular essay to show the examiner you have a hold over different kinds of sentences. Then compound sentences, for example, as a grown up, what? This is a dependent clause. One needs to fend for oneself and undependent, which in dependent clause, along with the grind of creates innumerable stress as a result, which one forgets to enjoy. So you see how there was a dependent clause inserted between an independent clause with the help of commas. So whenever you are inserting a dependent clause within an independent clause, you have to start with a comma and end with a comma. So this is why it just becomes very, very important within compound sentences itself that you make sure that whatever you're writing is making sense completely. So there are compound sentences, there are compound complex sentences, and there are simple sentences, conditional statements. There are various types of statements that you can use in your essay to show the examiner that you have a hold over these kinds of tools. All right. So this is the final essay that we have talked about today. These are the examiner criteria that when your examiner checks your essay, these are the things that they look out for. That is all for today. Thank you so much for joining. For more such interactive IELTS sessions and content, please follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're looking for various resources on IELTS, more sample answers that we have carefully crafted for you every recent question that we have created a sample answer that is reviewed by multiple teachers over and over and instructors. You can go ahead and visit our website, www.yunolearning.com, and you can access these free resources. You can also find crash courses or comprehensive courses, or if you feel like your English is a tad bit needs more improvement, then you can go ahead and enroll in our foundational courses, and you can find all the details here at our website. Thank you so much for joining. Please subscribe so that you do not miss out any other free session that we are conducting for you.